Anxiety is a combination of constant fear and worries about everyday things. About 1/3 of US adults experience anxiety in their lifetime. As an illness, anxiety has symptoms. These include restlessness, fatigue, brain fog, irritability, muscle tension, and insomnia. Anxiety often leads to depression. In fact, 40 to 98% of people with depression also suffer from anxiety. And diet plays a very important role in both disorders, as we're going to find out. Before we get deeper into this topic, what about subscribing to Women's Wellness channel? And give us a like, if you like. Further on, you'll find out how to claim a free anxiety-fighting, energy-boosting gift. But let's find out how anxiety starts first. Part of the brain is very involved in how anxious we are. It reacts to what we see, feel, smell, hear, and taste. Touch a hot saucepan, for example, and you immediately stimulate your amygdala. The amygdala of the brain protects us. It can save our lives. But when the amygdala receives constant, stressful triggers, anxiety is the result. Anxiety shortens our lives. There's a lot we can do to encourage, prevent, or reverse it, including changing our dietary habits. In 2021, Frontiers in Psychiatry published an article that listed the main psychological causes and results of anxiety: oxidative stress, insulin resistance, inflammation, and microbiome dysbiosis. The foods in this list are heavily associated with all four. They're not in any particular order because they're all as bad as each other. We'll begin with one you already know is bad, but maybe you're not sure why. Worst food number 5. Refined sugar. Refined sugar has a well-deserved reputation as an evildoer. It's never the right choice, even when you're not at all anxious about the effects. High sugar diets, especially in combination with high saturated fat content, cause all kinds of diseases. Refined sugar triggers chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance. It also upsets the balance and diversity of the bacteria that work in your gut. Sugar produces inflammatory chemicals that continuously overstimulate the amygdala. But we all know refined sugar is bad, so let's focus on an alternative. Processed, low-calorie, or diabetic sweeteners are found on every supermarket shelf. In the laboratory, rats given a sweetener called aspartame develop extremely high levels of amygdala stress. And if you're already suffering from anxiety, sugar and sweeteners are poison. People with anxiety are even more susceptible to those stimulatory effects. One study looking at the effect of aspartame on mood had to be cancelled because participants with existing mood disorders experienced highly exaggerated symptoms. The next food on the list is also classed as a sugar, but a fermented one. Worst food number 4. Alcohol. Alcohol is bad news for anxiety. When it's broken down, alcohol lowers oxygen levels in the liver. It joins with other chemicals to form harmful molecules called adducts. It also produces damaging reactive oxygen species, known as free radicals. Alcohol attacks cells and tissues and upsets body processes. And high alcohol consumption is common in people who suffer from anxiety. Why? During the first sips, alcohol calms the amygdala. That's why we think a small glass helps. But this effect is temporary. It doesn't take long for alcohol to become a part of the amygdala anxiety circle. Alcohol actually makes us chronically anxious because it's a source of inflammation. The more alcohol you drink, the more free radicals you produce. When there are more damaging free radicals than protective antioxidants, the result is oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is a major amygdala stressor. And avoid alcohol if you intermittently fast. Alcohol stays much longer in the liver when you're in a fasting state. If you plan to have a small glass, change your fasting schedule. Rather than fasting for 20 hours, fast for 16, then drink it between non-fasting hours 2 and 4. That's quite a lot of information for the brain, let alone the liver to absorb. So take a breather and claim your free copy of 25 energy-boosting superfoods for women. We can already tell you're interested in nutrition, so discover which foods are considered the best of the best for women who want to enjoy a nutritional lift. All you have to do is click on the safe link below. We're not quite done with our list. The next worst food you can eat when you're feeling anxious is worst food number 3. Gluten. We tend to think of gluten as a carbohydrate because it's found in certain grains. But gluten is a group of proteins that helps some plants store starch. Gluten is found in grains like wheat, barley, rye, oats, and spelt. But what has gluten got to do with anxiety? In 2018, Nutrients Journal published an article titled Mood Disorders and Gluten. It's not all in your mind. This article reviewed a long list of studies concerning gluten and mood disorders. Results showed how gluten-free diets significantly improve mood disorders, and that people with mood disorders have higher levels of gluten antibodies. Food oversensitivity sends stress signals to the amygdala. For many, a gluten-free diet means fewer inflammatory chemicals. There's plenty of evidence that gluten directly affects the brain. The University of Sheffield reported brain activity changes for up to 2 hours after a gluten meal. Results were consistent with the signs of severe brain fog, a symptom of anxiety, but those results differed from person to person. This could be explained by the link between anxiety and gut bacteria imbalance, and an important cause of that imbalance is food number 2. Worst food number 2. Non-organic meat and dairy. Non-organic meats and dairy products contain residues of medications like hormones and antibiotics. Recurrent use of antibiotics is associated with anxiety and depression. Research shows immunosuppressed people who take regular antibiotic cures have higher levels of anxiety. Of course, feeling fragile, sick, and tired could explain that. It's less of a coincidence when babies given recurrent antibiotic cures in the first months of life are more likely to become anxious as adults. And the ones most at risk are those that eat according to the modern Western diet. But what if you don't take antibiotics, eat your meat and 5 veg, and avoid sugar every day? Is that meat organic? If not, you're taking antibiotics in tiny daily doses. Antibiotics are designed to kill harmful bacteria. They attack specific cells, but not in specific areas of the body. Oral antibiotics for a urinary infection will also kill bacteria outside the urinary system. The first bacteria they find are gut bacteria. Gut bacteria die every time we take antibiotics. But you don't need to take antibiotic pills to absorb antibiotics. In the 1980s, 40% of all antibiotics were used in animal feed. Today, it's 80%. Animals kept in close quarters easily pass on or catch diseases. It's easier and cheaper to feed them antibiotics than provide a healthy environment. Long-term antibiotic treatments also make animals gain weight, as they do with humans. Antibiotic residue regulations are extremely strict in the US, the UK, Australia, and Europe, but even small amounts can affect the gut microbiome. To earn an organic label, animals must be raised in natural living conditions and be fed antibiotic and hormone-free organic feed. And when microbiomes of healthy mice were transplanted into mice with hyperactive amygdalae, the impulses in this part of the brain slowed down. So taking care of your gut bacteria will reduce anxiety. Organic foods are a healthy option, but how you cook them might make you anxious. That brings us to food number 1. Worst food number 1. Vegetable oils. Fast foods are bad for us. High calories, high carbs, and high saturated fats. They also provide us with too much of a healthier ingredient, vegetable oil. When we consume vegetable oils, we're causing amygdala-stimulating inflammation. Plant-based fats, like omega-6 fatty acids, are a healthy component of any diet, but omega-6 consumption should match omega-3 consumption. The healthy ratio is 1:1. The typical Western diet is about 20:1, thanks to vegetable oil. When dealing with all those omega-6 fats, your body doesn't process omega-3s from oily fish and nuts. You could take omega-3 supplements, like the group of medical students who went on to experience 20% less anxiety. Or you could just cut down on vegetable oils and eat nuts or oily fish. You'll enjoy a much better calming effect. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us the thumbs up or put your own thoughts in the comments section. Have a wonderful, restful, and worry-free day.